Hi, I'm Paul Ferranbi, aka IncrediPaul, and welcome to 6 Minute Saturdays. It's a shorter form of the podcast when I dive deeper into specific leadership, business, and career topics. So the last couple weeks, been talking more on the career side. We're talking about the job search with resumes and LinkedIn. A key thing with those two things is that you need to stay persistent and you need to keep going because it is a long process. So that's what the topic is going to be focused on this time with perseverance and what I like to call resilience. So, resilience is a topic I talk about a lot, whether it's in my podcast, I've done keynotes on this, I've written a blog about this. Actually, I think my second podcast was where I talked about resilience. I really broke it down. So, I have a talk I give on this. I know I've shared this on IncrediPaul Intuition in the past. I've shared posts about it. It's something I'm really passionate about because I know it's something that's really needed. It's something that I've worked on and struggled with and continue to work on, and I want to share the process because I know it will help you as well. So I want to give a quick background of even why this topic, why I came up with it. So I've spoken at Iowa State. So background is an engineer, and I went to Iowa State, the Midwest, Iowa State University, and study chemical engineering. And so I go back usually once a year to talk to a class, and I gave my story and told them about all the things I accomplished and the setbacks. And a key thing I always do is I talk about what didn't go well and then what I did about it. And so they asked how I kept going, and I kind of talked about grit and resilience, but I didn't really dive deep into it or anything like that. But this kind of reverberated in my head a few times. And so this was back in 2019 or 20, I believe it was 2019, either 2019 or 2021. It might have been 2021 when, in this particular time, when they asked me those questions. And I wanted to come up with something that would help them, and I realized that this could really help everyone as far as how to develop resilience. So in the time I have left, I'm going to dive into this and share some stories and examples on how you can develop resilience because it's something really key. So I came up with a 10-step process, and the process spells out resilience, and we'll see if I can get through all 10 or if I will have to have a part 2 for this. So the first step is rejection is inevitable. So you might ask me, Paul, you're talking about resilience. Why is the first thing you're telling me is rejection? The thing with resilience is that the fact that resilience exists also shows that rejection is going to happen. And I think there's comfort in knowing that rejection happens is because there are people here that are ultra successful. They may be millionaires, billionaires, making six figures, whatever it is, and they face rejection as well. So just because they face rejection and they were able to overcome, that gives me reassurance that just because I'm facing rejection does not mean that this is the end. Failure is not final. Failure is something that happens to you. It's not something you are. So realize that rejection is something that happens. And failure is something that happens and not something that is to be shied away from, but to be embraced is the first step. The next step is to evaluate the mistake or failure. It's been said that someone was getting knocked down over and over and over again every time they got knocked down. And it's a good thing to be resilient and come back up and keep doing it over and over again, but you need to do it differently. So evaluate what happened. What were some things I did? What were some things maybe other people did? Could I have handled the situation better? So just because you have something happen to you doesn't necessarily mean that you learn from it, and just trying to toss it under the rug or toss it aside and not facing it and trying to learn from it is not the best way to go. The next thing is really critical after you understand rejection is inevitable. If you evaluate the mistake or failure, is to surround yourself with the right people. A lot of times, whether we are in the right sphere of influence or the right organizations, we can be intentional with who we spend our time with, maybe outside of work or our extracurriculars. but spending time and surrounding yourself with the right people, people that are not speaking negative thoughts or negative things into your life. And sometimes that might even be family. So if you can get yourself out of that situation, great. If you can't, be intentional about looking for places and people that support you in what you're trying to do. The next step is to invigorate yourself with the goals you've set. So if you haven't set goals, this is where you need to set goals as far as where you're trying to go, what you're trying to accomplish. The goal might be just to get a job. It might be to get an internship. It might be to learn more about a specific person or business, maybe a business idea. Whatever it is, set the overall goal first, and that's really the next step. So I'm running out of time, but to wrap things up for right now, the first step, rejection is inevitable. Next step, evaluate the mistake or failure. Third step, surround yourself with the right people. The fourth step, invigorate yourself with the goals you've set. So I'm going to have a part 2. I'm trying to keep it to 6 minutes, but hopefully that will get you going until next week so that you can keep being incredible.